Ye Old Salutation. The Sal, as regulars know it, is reputedly one of the most haunted pubs in England. Dating from 1240, it also lays claim to being the oldest pub in Nottingham. When it originally opened, it was called the Archangel Gabriel Salutes the Virgin Mary. The pub's current name dates from 1336, when it was listed in town records as Ye House by Ye Sign of Salutation, and most of the current building dates from 1360. It's because of this that this author is more than willing to accept the Sal as the oldest pub in Nottingham, and therefore the country. The Sal is said to be home to almost 100 ghosts. Perhaps it is because of the history that the Sal has lived through that it's become this haunted. The caves directly underneath the pub, including a well shaft going down almost 30 metres, date from even earlier to around the 8th or 9th century. During the cave's early history, they had many roles. They were used by Jews who were fleeing religious persecution as a safe place to hide in, and in the 10th century they were even the home to a sizable leper colony. In the run-up to the English Civil War, both sides had recruitment offices in the building. The landlord of the era, in a stroke of what must be considered genius, figured, why not just keep both sides plied with booze and just ride it out? When Cromwell won in 1648, the pub was forced to change its name to the Soldier and the Citizen. After the restoration of the monarchy in 1660, the pub took on its current name of Ye Old Salutation. In the late 17th century, John Nevison, one of England's most famous highwaymen, became a regular at the pub. He would rob the rich of the land and, when he was in residence at the Sal, he made sure that the poorest among the patrons didn't want for food or drink. Ever since his death at the Hangman's Noose back in 1684, his ghost has been a regular at the Sal. He's typically seen in the snugs where he happily shares a pint with the patrons. It's said that if you sing his ballad whilst in the snug, his spirit will bless you with good fortune. I've now robbed a gentleman of 2 pence, I've neither done murder nor killed, but guilty I've been all my lifetime, so gentlemen, do as you will. It's when that I rode on the highway, I've always had money in great store, and whatever I took from the rich, I freely gave it to the poor. Dick Turpin, perhaps the most famous highwayman of them all, also called the Sal his home whenever he was in the area. It's said that on numerous occasions he hid from the law in the caves beneath the pub. One of the most tragic ghosts to haunt the pub is that of former landlord John Green. He was the landlord of the Sal in 1820, and back then he was facing a huge problem. Rats were getting into the stores, and it was costing him a fortune. John decided to take matters into his own hands and acquired a significant amount of arsenic, a common rat poison of the era, and some finest oatmeal. He mixed the arsenic in with the oatmeal in the hope that it would entice and poison the rats. However, he was called away to meet a supplier before he had a chance to spread the poison around. Once he returned to the pub, just a few hours later, he was met with a devastating sight. His entire family, his wife and 4 children, were dead. It turned out that his wife had found the bag of oatmeal and had made fresh porridge, and in doing so had inadvertently poisoned them all. He wrote out a confession of sorts, explaining what had happened before he killed himself by eating a bowl of the poisoned porridge. His ghost now patrols the pub. When he's about, lights flicker, and those around his spirit suddenly feel an inexplicable intense sadness. He's most commonly felt in the small corridor around the upstairs toilets. This was where the living quarters would have been located back in the early 19th century. There are, of course, countless other ghosts in the Sal, and if you ever go there for a pint, you might get to meet them. I hope you enjoyed the audiobook extract that I narrated. If you'd like to hear more, please get in touch with me, Peter McGiffin, or download a copy from Audible. To hear more samples, please head over to my website at www.petemcvoices.com.